Welcome class 5 in your science class. As we have started soil erosion and conservation, and you know what is the soil erosion? Soil erosion means the weathering of or the removing of the first layer of the soil, and we know first layer of the soil is very fertile soil, and that is very much needed for our every kind of work, like for the growing of the plant, for living of the habitat of the small animals. So these are very much important for us, and some small kind of animals like rabbit, earthworm, these all animals also resides in this first layer of the soil. Now how the formation of the soil occurs? So it is given here, formation of the soil. Soil is formed when rock break down into tiny pieces. So how the rocks break down? Why the rocks break down? Due to repeated drying, heating and cooling by the sun, rain and wind. This is called the weathering. When it rains, water gets into the crack into the rocks and remain there. In cold weather, it freezes, expands, exert pressure and break the rocks. This repeated weathering over thousands of the years break the rock into small pieces. This is result in the formation of the soil. Soil formation is a very slow, long and continuous process. So we came to know, as we know, everywhere on the earth crust there are rocks. And how the soil from the earth crust is actually, these rocks forms the soil. So how these rocks are able to form the soil? Due to the heating of the sun, these rocks are being very much heated, and in the night they are being cooled. So due to the expansion, due to the heat, they are being expanding, they are increasing their size, and in night they are being cooled up. So due to the constant contraction and relaxation, again they are increasing, again they are decreasing. So by this way the rocks become weak in their texture. Secondly, after the scorching heat of the summer, the rains come, and when the rains come, they cools down the rocks. And due to constant heating and and then again constant cooling, the rocks, you will see there will be cracks, and these cracks filled with water. In the rainy seasons, these rocks are being filled with water, or wherever the cracks occurs, these cracks will become these cracks are filled with water. So when the water is being filled in the cracks, in more windy season, in more winters, in more cooler seasons, what happens? These water changes into ice. As we know, ice volume is more than water. That is the reason when we are keeping a box of water in the refrigerator for changing it into the ice, we will see the water become just oozes up, or you will see the volume of the water changes more in when it changes into ice. As ice is lighter in weight, so they acquire the more volume. So same happen here. When they are being filled in the water, that time they are in the form of water, but due to the coolness of the weather, these water changes into ice, and ice pressing the wall of the rocks as they become more in the volume, and their volume is being increased. So they also pushes a pressure on the wall of the rock. So this is also a reason of the cracking of the rocks. So due to the heat, due to the contraction and relaxation, due to the filling of the water inside the rocks are being break down into the smaller pieces, and thousands of years takes to form these smaller pieces of rocks. They are being further grinded and changes into powder-like substance called the rock. So it takes too much time, and it takes more or less thousands of years to form a half inch of soil. So it is a continuous and long process by which the soil forms. So I have been made one. This is the first structure. You are seeing the rocky surface of the earth got heated by the sun. So in the first scene you will see the sun rays are heating up the rocks, and these rocks are being heated up and these rocks are being warmed. Okay. Now, in the second structure, we are seeing the rain cooled the rocky surface. So, the rain are pouring in the surface of the rock and they are making it cool. So, it cools the surface of rock. Now, here it is heating, in the night it is cooling. So, constantly heating and cooling makes the surface weak and they are started to break down. Now, next, if you will see, there is again the repeated heating and cooling. So, they will make the cracks. So, these are the cracks. Repeating, cooling and repeating, cooling. At first they are warming up the rocks, then due to the rain, due to the night coolness, they are being cooling. So constantly cooling and warming up of the rocks making the cracks, or the cracks are being created in the rocks. So due to the coolness and due to the heating of the sun, the cracks are being formed. And now due to rain, these cracks are being filled with the water, and continuous they are putting the pressure on the rocks wall, and ultimately they are being breakdown. And the last one we are seeing, these kinds of rock continuous flowing the water from the mountains, they are again putting a pressure and making and causing the rocks for to break. So these all are the ways by which rocks are being cracked, and continuously they are breaking into the small pebbles, and these pebbles are further grinded to form the small kind of, or the powder form of the rocks, and these rocks are full of minerals, and they in a powder form they are called the soil. So that's all for the day. Composition of the soil we will do in our next class. Okay, that's all for the day, and go through these pictures and just read the whatever the small notes are given just below these pictures. You will come to know about these pictures, and you will come to know how the rocks are being cracked and how the rocks are being cracking into the small pieces of the rocks, and ultimately they are forming the soil. Okay, good day, have a nice day.